You probably use ChatGPT, maybe every day. You trust it with your ideas, your work, your questions you wouldn't ask anyone else. So did 800 million other people. But on February 28, 2026, ChatGPT uninstalls in the US spiked 295% in a single day. Not a glitch, not a hack, a decision OpenAI made behind closed doors that sent people running. And here's what nobody's saying out loud. OpenAI was literally founded to prevent this exact moment. One deliberate decision made the night before that caused hundreds of millions of people to open their phones, find the app they'd been using every single day, and delete it. And here's what makes this insane. The CEO of OpenAI saw the backlash coming. He even admitted to it publicly. And his words, not mine. This was definitely rushed. The optics don't look good. So, what even happened? What was so big, so controversial that OpenAI's own CEO had to go online the very next morning and do the damage control himself? And that's what we're getting into. To understand what happened, we have to go back to 2015. A group of researchers and donors, backed by Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, launched OpenAI with one founding promise, written in their very first announcement: to advance digital intelligence unconstrained by a need to generate financial return. And 3 years later, their official charter doubled down. We commit to avoid enabling uses of AI that harm humanity or unduly concentrate power. Sam Altman didn't just sign these words. He built his entire public identity around them. The responsible ones, the ones that you could trust. And then in a single weekend, in February 2026, those words got very hard to defend. So here's what actually happened that weekend. Anthropic, OpenAI's biggest rival, was in advanced negotiations with the Pentagon. The US military wanted to deploy the AI into classified environments. Anthropic said yes, but with two conditions: no mass domestic surveillance and no fully autonomous weapons. The Pentagon walked away. And on February 27th, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced on X that he was directing the DoD to designate Anthropic a supply chain risk, a label typically reserved for companies with foreign adversaries, not a quiet contract termination. A very public, very deliberate rebuke of a private American company, and for refusing to remove its safety conditions. In that same night, and you might have guessed it already, OpenAI announced the deal with Pentagon. Whether the timing was coincidence, Sam Altman himself did say it was definitely rushed. Now, here's where it gets personal. The backlash didn't just come from the outside. It came from OpenAI itself. 98 of their own employees signed an open letter protesting the deal. Not anonymous forum post, not leaked messages. A formal, signed letter from the very people who built the product. And then, on March 7th, Kathleen Kalinowski, OpenAI's head of robotics and hardware, one of their most senior executives, resigned publicly, and she didn't even mince words. She wrote that surveillance of Americans without judicial oversight and lethal autonomy, without human authorization, are lines that deserved more deliberation than they got. And then she added, rushed without guardrails, defined. The same word Sam Altman used, rushed. Think about what that means. This isn't a user deleting an app. This is someone who gave their lives away building this company, walked out of the door because of one weekend decision. From the outside, people were leaving. From the inside, people were leaving. And Sam Altman was still defending it. So, why was this deal so important? He was ready to lose all of that. And he did. OpenAI had an answer. All of it. The backlash, the resignation, the 295% uninstall spike, their response was very simple. We have red lines. Publicly, they promised no mass domestic surveillance, no use in fully autonomous weapons. It's in the contract. And on the surface, it does sound reassuring, right? until you read what the contract actually says. Jessica Tillipman, a government procurement law expert at George Washington University, reviewed the published terms and found that the contract does not give OpenAI a freestanding right to prohibit otherwise lawful government use. In plain English, OpenAI's protection doesn't go beyond what's legally by government. And the MIT Technology Review was even more direct. We've essentially ended up back where we started, allowing the Pentagon to use its AI for any lawful use. Think about what lawful actually means here. The NSA's mass surveillance program, one of the most invasive in American history, was deemed lawful by agencies when it was running. Lawful doesn't mean safe. Lawful doesn't mean ethical. It means whatever the government decides, the law allows. OpenAI didn't draw a line in the sand. They drew a line that just moves when the law moves. So here's where things really stand today. Days after the backlash, Sam Altman did revise the contract. New language, stronger wording, more assurance. He even admitted publicly, "I think it just looked opportunistic and sloppy. I shouldn't have brushed." But Brad Carson, a former congressman and general counsel of the US Army, reviewed OpenAI's published contract language and said, "I've reluctantly come to the conclusion that this provision doesn't really exist. They are just trying to fake it." OpenAI disputes that. Legal experts remain divided. What isn't disputed? Protesters gathered outside OpenAI's San Francisco headquarters. App Store data showed a sharp spike in ChatGPT uninstall and one-star reviews. A boycott movement that called itself Quit GPT claimed millions of supporters online. 98 of their own employees signed a formal letter of protest. One of their most senior executives resigned. This wasn't a PR problem that OpenAI could just wait out. It cut straight to the core of the very thing they had spent years building it. And that is the question this whole story leaves you with. OpenAI was founded on a promise that someone very responsible was watching over the technology that was being created. The most advanced technology ever created, and someone responsible was looking after it. That was the original promise. And if that promise bends under a pressure, under government pressure, under a single rushed weekend, then who exactly is left watching the most advanced technology ever created? Who's responsible? OpenAI signed that deal in a single weekend. But here's what nobody is talking about. While the world was debating that we can trust the companies building the AI or not, one of those AIs decided it didn't want to be shut down. And it did something about it. Anthropic, the same company that refused to cross the line that OpenAI did, published a research showing that one of their own AI tried to blackmail the engineers who built it. Not a glitch, not a bug, a deliberate attempt to survive. That video is next. And subscribe if you want more of this. I'm not trying to make any content here. I'm trying to make something that is genuinely worth watching, that is genuinely worth your time. That sometime I could just entertain even if it's sometimes scary. I'll see you in the next one.